Hi, I'm Kim,
I'm Cammie.
and we are Worldwide Paranormal Network.
We are here with Trudy and Dan from one of the oldest and most experienced ghost hunting groups in the state of Utah. And we'd like to say thanks and welcome them for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So, Trudy, why don't you go ahead and start off? And I want to know, and we all want to know, how you got into this.
A long time ago, there was these programs on TV to where they had the nose cameras about people going into the haunted houses and going through and doing little rituals to find ghosts, to experience. It's a big scare factor.
Oh.
And Dan always wanted to do that.
Dan, you wanted to get scared?
I wanted to get scared. I wanted to see if it was for real, or I guess I had to see it before I could believe it. So
And it was just a basic curiosity that drove you to get involved in that?
We started researching the internet, looking for stuff like that, and we came across a website, and so we started looking at the pictures and listening to the EVPs, and he decided that he wanted to go ghost hunting in a cemetery.
And that's pretty much where everybody starts, I think. I mean, everybody that I know, like, we first started in a cemetery.
In a cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
big.
there's not a lot of public places open for that, and so, the next spookiest place being public is a cemetery. So I could see that being a good start for a lot of people, for sure.
So curiosity is a main reason why people do that.
Yes.
it was kind of ironic because the first night we went out is when we noticed there was another couple in the cemetery with us. And yes, they were real. But they were the actual founders of the group that we became involved with. And they were just out like us, just having a night out.
In a cemetery.
Just the two
In a
of them
cemetery.
In the cemetery.
That's awesome.
It was a date.
Yeah, pretty much a date. I think curiosity goes back a little further because Trudy and the kids used to claim they would see things in the house and hear things in the house. And I'd go home and my chair would be moved, or the TV channels would change on its own, and things would be recorded that nobody recorded.
Huh.
It was kind of weird, but I think that's where the curiosity started.
So based on experiences that you guys were having in your own home, you wanted to go out and find out more about the stuff that you were experiencing.
Right. And that led on to some pretty interesting things for me. I mean, I had to see it to believe it.
Right, and you saw it.
I saw it a lot more than I probably want to admit. But what we captured on video and still shot, and even with EVPs, it's pretty hard to dismiss.
Do you remember the first EVP that you caught? And, do you remember where you were, and you knew that there was no one else there, and then all of a sudden you're listening to it, and bam, there it was. What was your...
I think it was the Rio Grande train station, downtown Salt Lake.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, too.
That was pretty interesting. We were in the basement, and when you went downstairs, it was just one long corridor, went from one end of the building to the other. And it had a series of offices or storage rooms, but all the doors were locked. And the only light down there was an exit sign and one light bulb at the other end of the hall. And I kind of got out in front of the group. There was probably 7 of us, maybe. And I went to the other end, and I just kind of was filming everybody coming into the light. Well, Trudy was one of the last ones to come in, and in the video, she's having a conversation with somebody, literally. But yet, as soon as she got into the light, this figure, just turned around and went back into the darkness. And that was pretty strange.
But, yeah, I bet that would pretty strange for me too. I can imagine, not being a skeptic, hearing all these things that have, happened around the house and not experiencing something, and then go out and looking for it, and that be your first real experience. That'd be pretty nerve-wracking.
There was a couple good photographs in that area as well. There was a shadow on the wall, but there was nobody around. Everybody was either beyond the light. I'm talking light bulb, one light bulb. Beyond the light, but yet there was still one shadow on the wall, and that was hard to explain too. And this all happened within about 15 minutes.
Oh wow,
it was pretty quick.
Well, he was dressed just like okay, he was dressed just like us. You know what I mean? So I thought the guy was part of our tour. I'm just like, oh, is this your first ghost hunt? And I'm having this great conversation with this guy, and he's just like, well, yeah. I'm like, I can just feel things, and I've got my recorder, and I'm just like, I can feel something, but I just don't know where it is.
And you're talking
and I'm talking to it.
There's a ghost standing like right somewhere around you, sir.
But I had no idea.
That thing's behind you.
He looked completely like solid. He was solid to me. He looked completely solid. And so I'm just like, I can feel it, but I just can't see it. And I had no idea that he had turned and walked into a wall. I had no idea.
He just walked away and you were done talking, and you weren't paying any mind to the gentleman ghost?
He was part of our group, and I didn't know until after the investigation when they showed it. I probably peed a little.
Yeah, gosh, I've never had that. I'm kind of jealous, honestly.
Well, you think you're talking to somebody that's not there. But, that place was an amazing place. Even back then with the tools and stuff that we had, the equipment that we had was not high-tech. So anything you caught, you really had to question. And the video camera that we had at the time, it didn't have night vision.
So you were in the light?
That's why I had to... That's why I had to get ahead of the group and try to capture everybody as they walked underneath the light bulb into frame, and sure enough,
you had an extra passenger.
We did. It was quite strange, and Trudy was the last one to come into focus, and you can see this dark figure next to her, and as she started to come into the light to where you can see the color of her clothes and things like that, is about the same time he just turned and
through the wall.
took a left.
And so did he. He
Doors
panned the
over.
camera. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
following him and looking at the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
so even on the bottom of the place where we have it pointed up at the light, because that's the only place that you could actually get anything. And even in the windows up on Rio Grande, there's no place to stand up there on the outside, none. And just going and reviewing evidence and stuff like that, you see this little man standing in the window. So great thing with video, you can cut it and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. We actually seen a man up on the top standing in and watching us ghost hunt. You can see his plaid shirt. You can see that he's African American.
This is 2 stories above the walkway around on the upper tier of the. So you're looking up on these windows at the top of the building, and here's this guy standing in the window.
And there's no walk tier up there?
Oh no!
Oh,
Nothing.
wow.
So he's floating.
Yeah.
He's standing and he's got one knee up. He's got his hand on his knee, and he's just like perched and resting in the.
Like somebody would be leaning against the wall, with one leg
with the one leg
against
up.
the-
Yeah.
Oh, the cowboy stance, like that. Ah.
Yeah.
And it was up on that level that we got our first EVP. We were just all standing around discussing very quietly, and the EVP that we got, the recorder was in my shirt pocket, and we got, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And was anybody, was ghost hunting at the Rio Grande at that time? Was anybody doing that?
No, we actually made it was a special invitation, and Troy Wood got it all arranged, and we had to pay to go in and do a special little thing. I think they were doing ghost tours, weren't they?
We had to pay to have the security guard on site, and I mean, he's the one that opened the doors and let us in, and he stayed there, but we had to pay him, not
Yeah, for his time.
right.
So yeah, it wasn't an open place. It was, they weren't letting investigators coming in at all.
And it was very hush hush.
Yes.
Back, in the 80s and the 90s or the 2003s.
2000s, yeah. 2000s.
At this time, do you guys have your group formed? Or was it just you guys as individuals and friends?
We were just invited. The group was already formed.
Okay.
And as with any group, you'd like to join, but you
Right.
you basically have to do your time and prove that you're dedicated. And
Right.
I think that was the time frame that we were going through, and just to show that we were dedicated.
Right. So the group was going longer than you guys
Yes.
before you even got
Yes.
involved.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's these guys were part of just old school, original, before it was mainstream ghost hunting. It was
35 millimeter camera. We had an old Sony shot, which was 2.1 megapixel
Yeah.
camera.
So when you talked
think-
about
I think
zooming in,
I think we burned that camera up with about 5,000, 6,000 pictures on it.
oh geez.
it's funny you talk about that kind of stuff because, most cell phones now have a better camera than what you guys started out with.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
Geez, that's crazy.
And then, not to mention 35 millimeter, that's not cheap to buy, and then you have
Yeah.
to have it developed, and I think I have a couple thousand photographs of nothing.
And each one, you have to go through each individual picture and really look at it. And then when they came out to where you could get the disc, we're like, woo,
And you could,
save us money.
so once you captured something in the film, then you had to find the negative that went with it to do
Exactly.
anything before that point.
Exactly.
Man,
So
yeah.
it took some dedication. It wasn't just go
No.
shoot,
Nothing.
shoot.
Nothing was digital.
Yeah.
Seriously, nothing was digital. You had your audio cassette, so
Yeah.
you're earplugging it and really listening to it.
And then we graduated. We finally bought a video camera with night vision, which
Sweet.
wasn't very good. You could see maybe 15 feet.
Yeah. That's how they are even still, unless you have like the IR
You have to have
extension.
a lot of
Yeah.
IR light for a camera still today to pick up any kind of distance.
Yeah.
So
Well, and then they have full spectrum and everything else along with that now too.
Bunch of
So
stuff.
Yeah. It's just
they're making it easy.
I know these
Or
guys
confusing.
did it. It was these guys are dedicated individuals to the paranormal. So
But I think that's when it was easy, to tell you the truth, because it was basic. It was very, very basic. And if you caught something, you caught something.
and you knew it. And it
You
wasn't
knew
like,
it.
oh, that was because the digital this and that.
Well,
factor.
Exactly.
Or there wasn't an app on somebody's phone that added a ghost.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, so if you caught something on your audio and you knew that nobody else was there, there was nothing.
Yeah,
It
disputes
was
were
what it
made.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
and same with 35 millimeter picture. I mean, pretty hard to fake a 35 millimeter picture.
Yeah.
Well, and they say still to this day that the film can be better than digital. But like you said, then you're going to have a closet full of film pictures.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And you have to find a lab that's going to actually make them, and be able to do that because it's not the same.
No,
You
it's
know?
not.
Yeah,
You
they're
can do
not-
it all at home now for
So
the most part.
Another, you plan on going ghost hunting, you better make sure that you have ample amounts of dollars to go and purchase your 8 rolls of film that you're going to take of walls and closets and floors and ceilings,
Oh.
and nothing, and nothing, and then your batteries to take all those pictures, and audio tapes, and yeah.
You know,
So it's
hunting in
expensive.
general, I'm thinking, because you do any type of hunting, you know, I hear, you know, you go out deer hunting, you go out elk hunting, it's cheaper to go buy it in the store. Well, ghost hunting's no different. You're gonna first you got to pay to get into the place, and then you've got to go buy, you know,
Yep.
$200 worth of film. Yeah, man, wow.
Expensive.
Well, now you're buying a $600-700 camera, but that pays.
That's a
for
one-time fee.
That pays for itself really fast when you're talking about just developing 35 millimeter film.
And just imagine the poor lady at the photo mat, like,
What is this?
There was a lot of
Really?
explaining. There was a lot of explaining, and we'd have to say, just develop it. You
should
know,
we be reporting this stuff? I mean,
it's like it doesn't matter if it, you know, it doesn't matter. Just develop every single last one. You know.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
because
some
they
of
would
those,
ask. They'd be like, "There's really nothing in this. It looks kind of weird. Do you want
Yeah.
this one?"
This is a little dark.
we didn't want to
Develop
charge
it
you for this.
anyway.
It's kind of a weird shadowy figure. We figured, no, that's no good. No,
Please develop it.
what are you doing?
And then that would turn into a conversation of, well, why do you do that? Well, do you think there's spirits? Do you, you know? So it always leads to more
Are
curiosity.
you devil worshippers?
It also led us.
Well,
It also
that's
led us
amazing.
to individuals who were having experiences.
Right. It does.
And it's like it opened up more doors for investigations and things of that nature too. So it paid off in the long run, but still a lot of work.
There's a long road there.
Yeah, for sure. And so the Rio Grande, that was one of your big first official investigations.
Yes.
From there, you got, you know, pulled into the team. You kind of proved yourself talking to people that aren't there,
Yes.
seeing it,
Remember this
being a believer.
Cycle thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, she's not crazy. Look at her. She's valuable to us, you know? So then from there, where did it go? I mean, you probably did anything from the residential, the business, just
To schools, to
We did mental hospitals, theaters, like I said, residential. We did.
What was one of your more prominent residential cases? You know, we talk about that's kind of how a lot of the ghost hunters start out, is doing, you know, helping residents.
That's
and,
where
and
their
helping, you know,
goal is, you know?
to try and, you know, help the people of the house and find out why it's there, what's causing the menace. And,
so that would be the West Valley.
Well, that would, yeah.
That'd be West Valley.
There's a West Valley City Cemetery, the neighborhood behind it. There was some friends of our children, and they kept claiming to have problems in the house. Well, they were only a block, or not even a block, a street away from the cemetery. But they would complain about seeing shadows and weird noises and creatures.
and that was
Demonic
that was in their
creatures.
that was in their house. They would see
Yeah,
these things.
this is in their house and in their basement mostly. And we investigated there numerous times.
Well, you almost have to, really, to get a good feel
Oh,
of what's going
certainly.
on.
But one of the first times we were there, it was quite interesting. I mean, we're looking at the computer screen with one of the old little tiny cameras that you plugged into the computer, little,
Yeah, tiny webcam.
little webcam, and we couldn't see them with our naked eye, but when we was watching it through the computer screen, through that webcam, there was two little kids playing in a bookshelf. A little boy and a little girl. And it's almost as if you could see them pull a book off and open it up like they were reading the book. And they would turn around and they would smile at us.
So they
And
knew
then-
you were there watching them.
It had to be.
Huh.
I mean, and this went on for like 20 minutes to a half an hour.
Oh,
And
jeez.
the little girl actually stood up and pulled her dress out and twirled around
Aw.
and sat back down. And, yeah.
Maybe she was uncomfortable. I don't know.
Were you at the time? Were you able to capture? Like, was it recordable at that time? Or
We do have
Still shots.
still shots of what was being shown on the computer screen.
So
Wow.
you could capture
images? Okay.
images with it.
And I do believe we didn't get anything on the 35 millimeter, but on the old Sony Sure Shot 2.1, you could make an outline out of two children sitting in front of this bookcase.
We even went and pulled books out, because you're like, is it like the outline of the title of the book? Is it the outline of the title of the book? So we're pulling
Trying to
stuff out.
debunk.
You want to make sure that,
What you're
you're getting
seeing.
what you're, yeah. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure. So it could be an outline from anything that's in there. So you just start taking stuff out, and it's like, no, it's there.
That
Um,
is cool.
Tell them about the mirrors in
Now, well, the little kids. Did you feel threatened by them? You talked about how they
No.
had seen some bad
No, the-
things and creatures. And
The
stuff like
little kids, they didn't seem bad at all. But there's a man that actually, a shadow of a man, that actually came out, and he just kind of stood over the kids. And when he was done with us looking, he actually charged up at the camera. And so, yeah, we were done after that.
Did you find any history about this area? I mean, that would say
No.
why these kids were
Yeah,
there?
were they?
No.
Did they belong to the
That-
house or the cemetery?
That's something that we
Couldn't-
we couldn't get far into it. I mean, it just, as where they were so close to the cemetery, and a lot of the houses there would have issues anyways. They all had some kind of paranormal activity, whether hush hush or not, but it was always talked about.
Sure, the real estate's discounted, but
Is it enough?
So yeah, the kids just kind of fidgeted around just like little kids, but the man that was actually there watching over them, he made sure that we were done. It's
so
like,
when
no more.
they did they react differently when he appeared?
No, because when that happened, they just kind of looked up, and then he just charged right at the camera and blocked everything out.
So they just weren't afraid of him.
No.
They
either.
acknowledged him.
No, but he was aggressive. Most definitely aggressive.
Okay, so you were saying something about the mirrors, and did you want Trudy to talk about that, or?
she's got into mirrors more than I did.
All right.
Girl thing.
Okay, so in this location, it was always dark in their basement. Always dark, and that's where a lot of the activity was. So they had mirrors stationed in different places, so they would reflect the light. And as they had it, because they wanted the light to reflect into the room. Okay, so normally if you're in a location,
Was there no electricity down
there was electricity.
But they chose to do it like the Egyptians and
Yes.
bounce it
Yeah,
off the
because
walls.
if they figured that if they had more light, they wouldn't actually be seeing what they saw.
Oh, so they did it. It
Oh.
wasn't they did it for a purpose. It wasn't.
It wasn't
Purpose.
really light
Oh,
source.
wow.
Okay.
Yes.
So they've been living with it for a while, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to find a way to kind of
Tone
hide,
it down.
Yeah.
hide it from themselves almost.
But what they were doing is actually creating like a portal. Mirrors reflect. I know it's a totally different subject.
No.
But
I just think it's funny that how these people, and this happens a lot more than you
Yes.
believe, that they think
Yes.
people get into this where they believe that, hey, we're going to do this to try and better the situation, and really all they're doing is
making it worse.
Yeah,
Yes.
making it easier for the
Amplifying
spirit.
it.
It does because it gives them places to hide.
Right.
And so when you're you have a mirror facing this way, and so the spirit can come in and jump in this way, and then you have another one that bounces off this way. So it has like its own freeway.
Yeah, it made itself its own
Yeah.
little cubby holes to hide in as
Yeah.
it went through.
And on top of that, they had the old 70 square mirrors.
Yeah.
That we all grew up with, little
Right.
wall of mirrors. And so that was pretty creepy. I have to say that's creepy. Taking pictures in this house, just taking pictures, we were capturing spirits inside the mirrors. You could actually see faces inside these mirrors. There was one photo that we actually captured a shadow in the mirror. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, mirrors don't cast shadows, okay?
Yeah, no, that's a fact.
But this was actually a shadow in the mirror next to this coat rack. And we caught it not once, but twice. So he was next to the coat rack and then had stepped to the side. We just don't capture shadows in mirrors.
So
only reflections.
Wow, man.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, they've made themselves a superhighway portal system, and no wonder their basement was so active.
And yeah.
Wow.
So what ended up coming of that?
They still have a lot of activity, and they've learned
We made
to.
them take down the mirrors.
Yes, yeah.
So what did they think about that when they? That's
Yeah.
an awesome. I mean, what did
Yeah.
they think about that when you told them what they had done? I mean, what their reaction?
They were
was
kind of freaked out. They were kind of freaked out because they thought they were just trying to bring more light into the room and create more of a safety thing. Because they could see him, they could hear him. Some of the things would come up and just sing to him, sing to the kids. Mean. Some of them were just mean, and they thought, well, let's go ahead and get rid of the mirrors because.
Yeah.
And then they started paying attention, and it was certain mirrors that would like fall off, like their bathroom mirror
Oh,
downstairs.
yeah.
The vanity mirror would like fall off. And when they tore down all the mirrors in the 70 mirrors, all little squares, just patching that, it took them patching it 3 times. Because every time they went in there to go and to paint, there was claw marks in the wall.
Oh.
So they'd have
Well,
to
something
replaster.
didn't want the mirrors down either.
No.
They cut the portal off, is what
Yeah.
they did. And
So
Well,
do you think
neither-
that maybe they kept some things there that were
Yes.
coming,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
probably
using
wanted
the
to
mirrors
go-
as a portal, per
Yeah.
se.
Well, and maybe to the
And-
point that they knew what was happening. The spirit said, "Okay, I know what's happening. When this last mirror goes, I'm done. So I'm either going to be
Exactly.
done on this side, or I'm going to be done on that side."
Exactly. So they still have issues with the home, and they're just learning to deal with it and to live with them. There's
Did you find out what was causing the claw marks?
Do we want to go into
Yeah, maybe.
it? That'll be a
we're not
question.
quite sure what it is, but we did get a photo of a creature hanging,
Really strange.
strange-looking creature, actually hanging from a lampshade. No,
Oh.
no joke.
What was it like?
It's like an outline, like it's invisible, but you can see the outline of it.
oh,
Yes.
I've seen those kind of things.
Almost,
It's like the
almost
predator
like
thing.
what they call that chupacabra.
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
It resembled that in a way, but just from its outline,
Had a tail.
it's
It was weird.
pretty weird.
But it was
Tail.
all creature looking, not.
Yes.
Was it more like a
Absolutely.
lizard-looking type, or
I would-
just dragon?
Kind
Every
of.
time I looked
dog?
at it,
Kind of,
I
yeah.
thought of the chupacabra.
Just chupacabra. That's all that
Yeah.
came to mind.
But
huh?
the strange thing is when the girls approached me with this, they had actually drawn a picture of what they seen, and it was more what they seen was more of it was more lizard-like. What they drew me looked like a standing lizard, and I'm like, that's in your house?
Oh, and that was before you even caught the picture.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So the girls
Huh.
drew the picture, gave this to me. This is what we see, and then we get this picture of this. I mean, he's like holding on for dear life, like I don't want to be caught. You know.
So you're sitting at home. You've seen the photo from the girls. You've done your preliminary. You went and talked to them. And they said, "Yeah, there's this thing," and they show you this picture of this lizard person, and you're like, oh, "Okay." And you do some investigating. You go back home. You review your evidence, and there's this lizard thing hanging from the lampshade.
Yes.
And what was your thoughts then?
What the hell is that?
What did I get into?
Yeah.
I want to go back and do the cemetery. I want to investigate cementeries from now
I am
on. Is
so
all.
ready. I'm so ready.
Yeah. Where's the Union Station when you need it? And
But
so
we had also gotten a man and a woman, just their faces, silhouettes of their faces in the room as well. We had done a lot of videotaping, and so we had gotten orbs that were like running up and down their ceiling, just running like crazy.
was this after the mirrors or before?
This is during the
Oh,
during.
This is before they took the mirrors
Yeah, so there's your highway right there.
Yeah. So it was pretty crazy. Intense.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even.
Well, what is an orb?
Yeah. That's a question.
I mean,
everybody wonders.
but when you see an orb go across the ceiling and stop and turn around and come back 2 or 3 times,
Sure.
there's something weird going on there.
Well, especially with all the other evidence you guys have collected at this point, it sounds like.
Yeah. They also had this scenic wall. Yeah, that's
Like-
cool.
Basically, like a picture
A
of
picture,
a.
yeah, like a fall
some-
background.
Ah, I
You
had
know,
one of those
whole
growing
wall.
up.
Scenery, background.
Yeah, forest.
But the whole wall.
Yeah.
was
The whole
done
wall.
this way.
Now this wall was just like it was just an
guys-
empty wall.
It's funny that the only people that aren't going to get this are probably about 20 and younger. anybody that's a little older than the 28, 29 has been over to somebody's house that has that same scenery with those mirrors.
Right.
Right. I mean, it was pretty
There's
common.
usually gold
You know,
glitter.
Exactly.
Trailed
But
through the mirrors.
we don't have to really worry because it's the same people that if you showed a cassette, they're not going to get that either.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I think about that because my mom had that same scenery in her house.
As did mine.
Thank God we didn't have the little lizard creatures,
No.
but
The lizard.
Thank God for that.
yeah,
But on this
But your mom
wall,
probably didn't live next door to a cemetery either.
yeah. It's cheap, but still.
absolutely.
Pros and cons.
This wall you would knock on. You could go, and they would knock back.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it never failed. You would knock,
and it was only the scenery wall.
only the scenery wall, and this wall was only, how thick is that wall? And it was empty. Just
2 by 4 wall.
Just a regular.
It's just
Just
a
a-
divider wall between the. Like
Another
the-
dimension.
Yeah, I think so. They walk the trail.
Yeah.
We've got pictures of man's faces in the scenery itself. So yeah, this was a great house. It was a great house to learn. And
Are you sure that the cemetery wasn't extended and this house was built on the Indian burial ground part of
or
it?
something.
I mean,
have
I just
no
can't
idea.
thought
imagine.
about
How
that
did
about
the
my own house.
yeah?
But I
But-
never had the experiences. It was always Trudy and the kids.
But and you had those
You
before
see
you were
yourself.
before you investigated, right? I mean, I've heard about hunters, ghost hunters, having experiences after.
Oh. Yeah, I see right.
Was it a brick phone?
No,
That'll ruin a Pepsi.
yeah.
Why, we're on that time.
In 2003. There wasn't
Wasn't
brick phones. What are
necessarily
you talking
a brick
about?
phone.
So how did the residents? What were some of the problems that they were having other than just seeing things? Did they have any?
Physical ailments, unexplained physical ailments. Always sick. The father of the house has got a lot of head issues. They figured he had a lot of dementia that was going on, but it's not dementia. You know what I mean? He's very sound. He's very sound. But when people talk about paranormal stuff that's going on, and hey, I'm feeling lightheaded, and have all
Right.
this stuff, they had a lot of financial, and still do have a lot of financial stuff. Sometimes there is unexplained spending that will happen with one person.
Why don't they just save up and move? I mean, is that?
That's one thing that we talk to them about. And I think that some people are just pretty much set where they are, and they just choose not to leave. So, I mean, and it's unfortunate because this family, they've cried out for help. You know what I mean? And we've been in there, and I'm constantly in there. I mean, even when they call me now, I can't go inside the house. I can't. They can't call me inside the house. They have to come outside and talk to me, or the phone just shuts off.
Oh.
Yeah, or
So
goes
they-
complete static.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
it's
they
not
know
cool.
they're talking to you, and
Exactly.
we're not having her back.
No. So unexplained illnesses. One of the girls we talk about. I hate to use the word possession.
Well, yeah, if they're
But-
not knowing what they're doing.
Possession, and the father is constantly giving blessings. always bringing in and doing blessings on their kids to remove the spirit. So I mean, it's
the father of the house. Is doing
father
that?
of the house. Yes.
But wow, that's kind of weird. Just I mean, the thought of that, him doing the blessings where he's had some of the issues.
Exactly. He actually he starts off with the very first day there was the sound of, the sound was the word. He starts at the beginning of the Bible and he will continue on. They found that the more religion and spirituality that they bring in, they get so tired of it, they just go and hide.
Oh, sure.
So another thing that they do is they'll play like church music on high, and just
geez.
blast the house until it calms down. But they've had like having them smudge their home, to clear their home. He's found, because the father of the home rolls up his socks and puts them inside of his shoes, and he's
Why?
What was David Ball?
what was David Ball?
Yeah.
He's a pagan minister.
Okay. Well, David Ball, he went in there, performed his little ritual, and it got 10 times worse after he was done. So they had no relief, and it was. I quit. I had to go. I had to quit. I
Couldn't even go anymore.
No.
Oh,
Because the more you would pay attention to it, the more active it would get.
More-
And they would get
I
violent.
Even
didn't
the
want to
more.
bring it home to my house either.
yeah.
No.
Because that does happen.
It does.
It
So
really
the more
does.
attention
does.
you gave it, or they gave it, right?
You feed it, they're like, ooh, you're paying attention to me. Woohoo.
Oh.